Hi, I'm George Abor from Wikia's gaming comm dev team, and I'm excited to chat with three of our superfans from the Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor gaming community. These guys have been chronicling the game since it was announced last year, and they even attended an exclusive Wikia Fan Express event to San Diego Comic-Con. These guys are experts on the game, so let's see what they have to say. What are you most excited, or what are you most looking forward to about Shadow of Mordor?
The thing I'm most excited about Shadows of Mordor, and I'm really looking forward to, is exploring some of the backstory about the Black Gate way before it actually developed.
For me, this is kind of the Lord of the Rings game that a lot of really big Tolkien fans who are hardcore gamers have really been waiting for. You know, it's an M-rated game, visceral, brutal combat. They're really taking a stab at an innovative system with the Nemesis system. They're really setting themselves apart from a lot of the other IPs coming out this year.
Definitely diving into the Nemesis system. I think that brings whole new gameplay to Middle-earth. I'm really looking forward to not playing a repetitive game.
In your opinion, what's going to set this game apart from other games available this year?
For me, it's really about the Nemesis system. You're talking about a system that really is probably going to be a big game changer.
I think the thing that's going to set this game apart from other games is that we haven't seen a Middle-earth game like this before. It really throws you into the character and it throws you into the game.
One of the most unique aspects of the game is the Nemesis system. Wikia hosted a community Q&A with design director Michael de Plater. Here's what he had to say.
Our game world doesn't really work like any of the other game worlds you might have played before. And the reason for that is the Nemesis system. So the world itself is a little bit different because it actually is a simulation of Uruk society. You're behind enemy lines within Mordor. Every single enemy is truly going about living their own life. They're going on missions, they're fighting to the death, they're trying to move up. So we don't just have a bunch of traditional side missions or missions in the world. The missions are getting constantly created by the interactions of the Nemesis system. You're basically the rock that gets dropped into that pond, and everything you do is going to ripple out through that simulation and through that world. Whether you kill these guys, you bend them to your will, you turn them against each other. The world itself is very different, so that lets you manipulate it in very new ways.
How will the Nemesis system affect your overall gameplay, or how you plan on approaching the game?
I've seen some of the gameplay footage, and I do know that they do crowd in around you, and I've seen people get taken out very quickly, but I'm going to take my chances.
You can add a lot of different angles that you could take from the game. There's stealth, you can go hack and slash. Me, I like to do a little bit of both, mix it up, you know.
I almost always tank in games, so I think a lot like Lord TJ, I'm probably gonna, be that guy who runs right in and probably get my butt kicked a few times. But I'm probably gonna go straight for it, use a lot of melee combat, and I've gotten used to the counter system through games like Assassin's Creed and Arkham. It's got a very similar combat counter system as that, so I think I'm gonna take my chances with that as well.
How do you plan on creating your legend in Shadow of Mordor?
There is a lot of hack and slash games out there, but show me a game where I can go in and play as a Wraith and go ahead and use powers and that kind of thing. So I'm really looking forward to playing as a Wraith.
Just from seeing the Wraith powers is something new. Something, to me, is kind of like a ghost mode. I think it's really neat how they actually got it, and I think it's probably the best thing to use to trick your enemies, have them do the dirty work, and then you just come in and clean up after them.
Let's talk a little bit about the actual lore of Middle-earth. This game takes place between The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. How do you think that the events of Shadow of Mordor will fit in with the rest of the Middle-earth mythology?
I really think that the guys, at Monolith, especially de Plater, who worked on the last Lord of the Rings IP as well with Snowblind, The War in the North, they took, painstaking measures to make sure that everything they did fit right into what was going on outside, in the world.
What Middle-earth lore are you hoping gets touched on in Shadow of Mordor?
Probably Mordor. A lot of people don't know so much about it, since when people think about Lord of the Rings, it's the Hobbit and the quest, not really so much the dark side of what's happened in the lore. So just overall Mordor, getting a better feel of what that was like.
I'm really hoping that they dive a lot into the deeper lore of Middle-earth. De Plater's talked a lot about the gray area of Middle-earth. You've got characters who are really these kind of not black and white, just these really kind of conflicted moral characters. One of the things I love the most about Tolkien, and it's not just good and evil. There's a lot of really interesting gray area morally in these stories, and so it's going to be interesting to see the difference between Talion and Celebrimbor and how they deal with the situations and the hand they've been dealt. And so I'm really interested to see if they pull from some of that older lore for some of this stuff.
So there you have it. Shadow of Mordor releases on next-gen consoles later this month, and on the 360, PS3, and in Europe later this year.